Hi there. I realize that there's often quite a gap between my videos, but I think that comes down to the fact that I don't see myself as a content creator. That's a term that I really don't like very much. Content creator. Creating content doesn't imply quality, does it? It's as if my only purpose is to make stuff. It doesn't have to be good, just has to be stuff. I don't know. That's the context I get from that particular term. So rather than call myself a content creator, I call myself an occasional sitting in my basement doing a video guy. Because basically, I only do this because I enjoy it. I enjoy the process of making a video. I enjoy looking at the final result, and I enjoy the fact that occasionally I will get a comment or two. Will I get rich off YouTube? Well, so far I've made absolutely nothing. Because, of course, not being a regularly produced channel and not really hitting on topics that reach to a much broader audience, then I'm pretty much overlooked by most of YouTube. That doesn't really bother me, though. Because, as I said, I just do this because I enjoy it. Now, over the last few videos that I've done, I keep talking about reducing gear and things like that. And although I haven't exactly been good at it, I have at least rationalized some of my gear. For instance, right now I am being recorded with one of my OMD EM1s. It came to me that if I'm going to make a few videos, and if I want to sort of partially dedicate a camera to it, then a camera that I have two of is a prime example. Perfect. So that's what's filming me right now. Some will say, well, why don't you use the Sony? The Sony did a better job. And but remember, there is a limit to just how much quality you need in what is basically a simple talking head video. I don't do a lot of the what Hugh Brownstone likes to call whack-a-mole things, where you pick up something and you show it to the camera, and the camera will hopefully focus on it. And when you take it down, it will hopefully go back to your face. Now, of course, if I had used this camera, that whole process would have been a lot faster. But, as I said, if I'm slightly fuzzy for a brief period in my video, I'm not exactly worried about the fact that it will probably prevent me from getting an Academy Award or whatever it is for videos. So, I'm quite happy with this setup. I've also discovered that for my street photography, which is something that I am working more and more on all the time, it is still far from anything that I would call quality, but at least some of it is now fairly interesting. For my street photography, I really have slipped back to a camera that I used many years ago, or at least a variation of that. Right now I'm using an EP1 quite often. And on that EP1 is a very pedestrian Zuko 17mm f2.8 prime. The little pancake lens with the bad reputation. But I find that it is sharp in the center, and for the most part, I do shoot it stop down. It's street photography. I'm not going for wonderful bouquet. I'm just going for a story. And as a result, that camera is serving me very well. It's small size. In the way I normally carry it, it's basically not an awful lot larger than something like a Fujifilm X100 series camera. The lens may protrude slightly more, but not much. The body is not a lot bigger. It may even be a little smaller. It does not have a built-in viewfinder, so there is a viewfinder in the hot shoe, which does make it a little larger. And I do put a lens hood on it, which again increases its size somewhat. But even with all of those accoutrements, it is still a very compact camera. It was too large to fit in the pocket anyway, so I didn't feel the least bit put out by putting on the viewfinder and the lens hood. It now fits in a very small low pro bag with extra batteries, a couple of memory cards, ready to go. I'm in the process of repairing. Now remember, I just said that I was in the process of repairing. That's a scary thought. I'm in the process of repairing an EP2. The screen was broken. So I have so far dismantled it to the point where I now see that it is possible for me to remove the screen effectively. I have found a replacement screen online for $40 or so. $40 to possibly get this camera up and running again would be a big plus. My EP1, which is of course equivalent in terms of most features, has one drawback. The EP1, its image stabilizer failed. Now that's not a big deal because it still takes perfectly good pictures. But when it failed, the sensor had been shifted a little bit to one side. So when I put my optical viewfinder on, what I think I'm framing and what the camera is actually seeing is slightly different. So I have to actually now move my framing over so that the camera will see what I want it to see. It's not a real big annoyance because I do tend to shoot wider than I need to, and then I just crop in. And shooting everything with a 17mm, that's a 34mm equivalent, means it's reasonably wide all of the time, especially on the street. So it's not a big deal. But if I can get this EP2 screen replaced, it does have a couple of extra features. I can use an electronic viewfinder with it, and its image stabilizer works perfectly. I have no idea how many exposures are on the EP2 because with the broken screen, I can't get to the I can't put in the cheat codes to end up getting all the information that you get on the back of the camera. Those of you who have Olympus cameras know what I'm talking about. The rest of you, I'm not explaining it. Anyhow, you can't really enter the cheat codes with the electronic viewfinder, so I can't find it out. The EP1, despite its broken image stabilizer, has very, very few exposures on it, something in the order of only less than 5,000. So it's practically a new camera. So these are the cameras I will be using for street photography. I then have my poor, what a friend of mine calls Frankenstein, which is my other EM1, which has all of its rubber skin removed because it all fell off. I tried gluing it on, it didn't work, so I just cleaned all the glue off the body and left it like it was. It is so ugly that I don't have to worry about anybody stealing my camera because they'll take one look at it and say, what a piece of junk. But of course, it is a perfectly functional OMD EM1. And for those who are, again, not familiar with Olympus, the OMD EM1 to Olympus would be the equivalent of something on the order of, well, I guess the one step below the absolute flagship camera of other brands. So something like a Nikon D850, a Canon 5D. It would be the Olympus equivalent to that. Now when I say equivalent, do not come back at me saying, oh yeah, but those are all full frame cameras and you've got that dinky little... Yes, I do. I have that dinky little sensor. That dinky little sensor means I have tiny little lenses. I have lenses that reach from 75 to 300 millimeters, which means that they go from 150 to 600 in full frame terms. That's this long. So I'm not going to complain about that. Do I have the ultimate in image quality? No. But any camera made in the last 10 years, any decent camera, anything other than some really cheap point and shoot thing, which are pretty much extinct anyway, any decent camera right now that's been made in the last 10 years takes more than adequate pictures. The companies keep pushing at us, higher megapixels, higher dynamic range, faster autofocus, more features, and on and on and on, faster shooting. Let's be honest with ourselves. There are people who need these features, but they are a very small minority. Most of us would do quite well with the camera that we probably already have, in my case. Now, I do have this Sony. The Sony came to me because I got a very good deal. Because of my very good deal, I have what is, for me, a more modern camera. Now, why am I making a big deal about Olympus and not much about this Sony? For one very simple reason. The handling of this camera is really bad compared to an EM1 or even an EM5. The controls are basically all operated by your thumb. Your fingers have nothing to do but push the shutter button. And that makes for a rather awkward, not terribly pleasant way of shooting. Now, in terms of image quality, is it better than my Olympus? Yeah. I mean, it's a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, and a very good one. It has terrible rolling shutter, so that's one thing it has going against it. But other than that, it's marvelous. Now, my Olympus gear is all older generation stuff with only a 16 megapixel sensor. If I had the 20 megapixel newer camera, then I would probably say that they are closely matched, but right now they're not. So, why Olympus and not the Sony? Well, like I said, the handling. My Olympus cameras are so easy to operate with their two control dials at the top. I can, if I'm shooting an aperture priority, which I usually am, one dial is for the aperture, one dial is for exposure compensation. Then, of course, there are the buttons on the body that will allow me to use the dials for different things. So I can change so many features on the fly very easily, whereas here I would have to at least go to the quick menu and choose from there. The other thing, of course, this has no touch functionality at all. The Olympus at least has touch to focus, swipe to review your images, features that at least give it a little bit of touch functionality. And the touch to focus is particularly good. Well, I'm rambling now, as you may have noticed. I guess it's just the fact that, hey, I'm finally getting an opportunity to do another video. I hope that this video does not come across as an absolute total waste of time. That wasn't my goal. A little bit of a waste of time, maybe. Yeah, I don't mind wasting a little bit of your time. I'm wasting my time right now. I don't have anything else to do. You might be busy. Yeah. Okay. I think I've said enough. Anyhow, guys, if you liked the video, give it a like. If you would like to see more of my videos, then subscribe to this channel. And if you feel anybody's going to get anything interesting from this video, then by all means, share it. Now, before I say bye for now, I realize that for most people now, this is the camera of choice. Okay? A good old phone. And I have no problem with that. Why am I, an old dinosaur, using something as big and bulky as this when I have a phone in my pocket? Well, simply because of two important factors. Number one, flexibility. I can change lenses on this to do a lot of different things. And secondly, more importantly to me, I've been taking pictures with decent cameras since about 1979, I think. that's a long time learning a process that pretty much was the same all the time. It had a grip, a shutter button, and some kind of dial on top. That is a hard habit to break. I enjoy holding and using a camera. I do not enjoy holding and using the phone, which to me seems a little awkward. As a result, I am a dinosaur and I do use a camera. Well, hey, we all have our flaws. Bye for now.